Quick reminder, you could still get $20 if you sign up for M1 Finance. You deposit $100, they will literally give you $20, no questions asked, just for signing up. The link is in the description below. Hey everyone, me Kevin here. Something very good is potentially coming today, and I'm really excited about this because it might mean that I might be able to finally shave soon. This is our update on the stimulus front. Last week, I suggested that there were only two paths forward after the skinny bill got skinny canned. And the two paths forward were option one, that the House would return to work and come up with something on their own, some kind of compromise proposal that wasn't something like a Nancy Pelosi $2.2 trillion package, but something instead more palpable to both sides. Hopefully bipartisan. Option number two would be that Trump hammers through his executive actions, which would be a little risque, but he would probably do it before the election. I mean, why not? Well, here's a quick clip of Friday's video where I said exactly that, and then I want to tell you what broke this morning, which is really interesting. Let me just show you this clip quickly. Put something together. Obviously, there's more divisiveness in the Senate, so why don't we take a more unified House and actually get a compromise bill together? Well, this morning, Steve Mnuchin on CNBC's Squawk Box had this to say. Here's the best part.
But I will continue to work on this. I've told the Speaker I'm available anytime to negotiate, no conditions. And we look forward. I understand the Problem Solvers is going to put out a bipartisan proposal this afternoon from the House. So I look forward to seeing that as well.
Thank the Lord. Now, look, I have to temper my expectations because, after all, this is Congress we're talking about. But seriously, the only two paths forward I see to the stimulus bill are the House coming up with a bill that Republicans and Democrats can agree on, or Trump. And that is exactly what we're hearing news on happening right now. That the Problem Solvers Caucus, a group of 24 Republicans and 24 Democrats, are coming out and releasing a compromise bill. And so in honor of this exciting news, I went ahead and put together a flowchart of what my expectations are of what we could see in this. Now, this is not confirmed yet. We'll see when the proposal comes out, but these are the things that we're expecting. We would expect this bill to be somewhere between $1.3 and $1.8 trillion. We know that Republicans and the president have said they're ready to sign on a $1.3 trillion bill. They just don't have enough Republicans in the Senate to get a $1.3 trillion deal through. They need Democrats as well. This is why a bipartisan bill coming through in the House is good, because if we can get even just the moderate Republicans and the moderate Democrats in the Senate to pass something, we get a bill. We just can't cater to the extremes. That's why the skinny bill failed, and that's why the HEROES Act is failing. Those are both at opposite ends of the spectrum. We need this compromise bill, and that's where we have agreement by most people in Congress. We've got agreement on the stimulus checks, so we certainly expect those to be in there. We know to get Democrats, even moderate Democrats, on board, we'll need some additional money for food aid. We already have free food for children 18 and younger, the information all the way down in the description. And but probably some additional food aid for adults and some sort of rental assistance. Remember, we're now more than $21 billion behind on rent in this country. Unemployment pay, probably something $300 to $400. I doubt we'll see a full $600. Although Mitch McConnell did say if everybody else agreed to $600, he would agree to $600 as well. So you never know. Could go back to $600, but now that we've got the $300 working, wouldn't be surprised if we saw that $300 to $400 range. Liability protections, I do see this happening, but I do believe that Democrats will force there to be some sort of consumer protections, so some better rights for consumers, because the way the liability protections are written now are almost just straight up immunity, and some form of worker protections, giving consumers and workers more rights. That's very common and to be expected. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the incorporation of the formal payroll tax waiver, which was a standalone bill that was introduced last week. I wouldn't be surprised to see that get absorbed into this. Schools, 105 to 150 billion. Both sides already agree on 105. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go up, though. Now that the school season has started, we're starting to see a little bit more need for more money for schools in addition to the 105. State and local Republicans are on board with $150 billion. We know that Democrats really want up to $950 billion, but Nancy Pelosi's open to picking up more money in January, so I wouldn't be surprised if something like $150 to $400 billion is what ends up in a compromise bill just to get us through to January when another administration and the next Congress is in session. Post office, 10 to 15 bill would not be surprising. 50 to 100 for COVID. PPP round 2. Unlikely things. I don't expect we'll see anything for heroes beyond that potential payroll tax cut and then actually being a payroll tax cut, which is, in my opinion, sad that there's nothing for this, but it's completely fallen out of the discussion front. So have the SALT tax deductions. I doubt that'll happen, which for people in states like Texas with high property taxes or California and New York, that'll be a sad face. It's commonly known as a blue state bailout, but realistically, it is beneficial in states like Texas as well. States with high property taxes are affected by that as well. The EIDL almost completely fallen out of favor, and mortgage forbearance cleanup terms. We have this in the HEROES Act. I don't know if we'll see it here. That's why I'm calling it orange. It's kind of fallen out of the discussion, but we do need some cleanup and some clarity here because people have the right to 12 months of mortgage forbearance if you haven't yet gotten forbearance. You can still get it. Watch my mortgage forbearance video. Go to metkevin.com/forbearance. I highly encourage you take forbearance. It's a nice way of building up an emergency fund, and it's basically free stimulus. It's another way to take that money. So, all right. So where are we now? Well, keep in mind the Problem Solvers Caucus. This group of 24 Democrats and 24 Republicans, they last month spoke a lot with Chief of Staff Mark Meadows in the White House. In fact, Representative Dean Phillips of the Problem Solvers Caucus said they've been having very productive meetings. Now, it's taken a lot longer for them to get a bill released, but it's probably because there was so much excitement over the skinny bill. So look at this. Skinny bill dies on Thursday, and here they are the very next Monday when the House comes back to session. All right, well, here's our deal. Now, we're still expecting this, but I am very excited for this because it's giving me hope. And at this point, it's giving Lauren hope. Anyway, remember that Nancy Pelosi is stuck at $2.2 trillion. She, though, even though she's stuck at 2.2, she said that this weekend that she is optimistic an agreement will come before the election. It's interesting. Maybe she knows that this problem solvers bill is coming and that'll end up being what takes over. Also, remember that Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said in a hearing last week that we could see a bill go as high as $1.5 trillion, which puts both sides a lot closer, right? Nancy at 2.2, Steve Mnuchin at 1.5. Donald Trump said he would have a red line at 2.0. He would not sign anything over 2.0. So I think we're getting pretty close now. We're between 1.5 and 2.2. The skinny bill was a joke. I don't think anybody really expected that to, well, certainly nobody expected it to pass the way it was. It was seen as sort of a negotiation strategy, but failed strategy. On COVID, AstraZeneca's trials have resumed. I mentioned that on Saturday. They resumed Saturday, but I wanted to mention that today as well because that is one of the reasons we're seeing recovery stocks bounce back substantially higher today. Which is not a surprise, as recovery stocks are really hanging their hats on a vaccine. Cases are down slightly to 33,506, making it difficult to stay under the 30,000 mark. And everybody's eyes are on a spike from Labor Day weekend, which, by the way, I did another search for COVID trends just to see what we've got going on. We've got a tiny little spike in the 7-day over here, but it's really tiny. I mean, we barely notice any kind of spike here yet. So my concern would be if we see these trend lines really start peaking over the 100, which is the relative search sort of bar here. If we see these lines start peaking above that, then we're going to start having problems. But right now we are within these bounds. And I'm optimistic that hopefully we won't have a very large spike from Labor Day like we had for Memorial Day or July 4th. Also, and by the way, if you have not yet heard the drama over Nikola Motors and the stock, Nikola Motors, the EV company and hydrogen vehicle company, I made a video this morning about Nikola's response to allegations that they had a semi-truck and just parked at the top of a hill, rolled it down the hill, and then filmed it as if it was driving. And you will fall off your chair if you see what Nikola said in response to it rolling down the hill. Yeah, let's just put it this way. The Financial Times reacted and said that they think they should change the name from Nikola Motors to Newton Motors. Because after all, objects that stay in motion remain in motion.